Now, listen up.
3, 2, 1.
It's showtime.
That's great.
This is ridiculous.
99.3 The Truth.
You can't handle the truth right now.
Ooh.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it. Hit it.
It's time for Mac's World.
And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Call Mac 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Exclusively on 99.3 The Truth.
7 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 28th day of June in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is the Tuesday edition of Mac's World Live. What did you say, Bob, about a couple people blowing up something?
Yeah, was that the Istanbul airport?
Istanbul
and it
airport.
just happened today.
Just happened, yeah.
And do they know who did it?
No, I didn't get that.
Oh, okay.
I was just assuming that it's this people that normally do those kind of things.
The Christians and the Jews.
No, Frank.
Bob was being silly.
He was jesting us.
All right. My guest this afternoon for the next hour is Ed Brown, who's the CEO of the Iowa Clinics. Of course, Tom Coates gave his firm promise, right, Ed?
He said he was going to be here.
He promised he'd be here.
He recruited me.
And yet, I look around, I'm even standing on my tippy toes, and I see no Tom Coates. But, can I hear him? Hello? Hello?
Hi, Mac. Hi, Mac.
Hi. How you doing?
Hey, Tom.
Ed, my greatest apologies for not being physically there, but I'm there in spirit and in voice now.
All right.
So Ed is your guest. I will allow you to start the process of asking him some questions, Tom.
Well, when I first invited Ed on, we will talk about some of the things going on in regards to the health care, but as things developed, Ed spent 3 weeks over in Europe and has what I would consider a bird's eye view on what has been the topic of conversation since last Friday, and that's the Brexit vote. And Ed, you came over and you and some insights into what happened over there.
Yeah, I would say whenever I went over there, Tom, I was like most Americans, not really very in tune with what was going on within Great Britain and where people stood. And we knew there was a vote that was going to occur. We knew it was controversial. It was close. But shortly, I arrived in Vienna, Austria, and went through Austria and Bavaria and Switzerland. And it became very evident, listening to the media over there, that the Brits were polling 5 or 6 points up that they were going to leave the EU, and it was a solid number. What happened, and we saw it, that Scotland was. There's not large populations up in Scotland. They wanted to stay, and folks in London predominantly wanted to stay in the EU, but overwhelmingly through the rest of Great Britain, they wanted to leave. When they interviewed what I would call the working class population, they were frustrated with Brussels. Brussels just...
I love Brussels sprouts.
They were...
Man, you put a little oil on them with some... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ed.
Well, you're close. Brussels sprouts is where the head of the EU is. That's where it's headquartered. And this is all going to sound familiar because they were coming down heavy on the working class within Great Britain with just more and more regulation. You had fishing villages in northern England who had been fishing villages forever that they were basically putting the clamps down on them in terms of the amount of fishing they could do in waters that they had fished in for decades and decades. and they weren't able to generate enough product to be able to live on. Well, they didn't really EU oversight process because there were other areas within the EU that needed to have expanded fishing rights, and there was only so much that they were going to regulate to take out of the oceans. And frankly, those kinds of oversights weren't there before. They weren't looking out for the citizens of England. And when they would call upon members of parliament, they turfed it and said, oh, well, that's coming out of Brussels and the EU. They're the ones responsible for that.
Always willing to pass the buck.
Pass the buck, and it was hacking people off. And that's just one of many examples. I think the most eye-opening, though, was whenever my wife and I had a driver that took us around Bavaria, native German, but it's a little bit like Bavaria is a little bit like being Texan in the United States.
I love Bavaria then.
Yeah, a little independent-minded folk down there, and they, they're upset.
Don't
Germans
mess with Bavaria.
Yeah, well, Germans in general are frustrated. You have a country that's supported the development now of East Germany. You have a president who's very liberal, who's an East German. Her vice president is an East German. And there's a very liberal philosophy, socialist philosophy in the government. And basically what I'm hearing is Merkel's out. It's just a matter of time. And it all
do they do like elections like we do? There's a point in which her term is up and she won't be reelected?
Yeah.
Or do you think she's going to be, what do we call it over here, impeached?
No, I would say I didn't hear anything about impeachment. I heard that, look, we're not going to support her. It's time for a change, and this immigration issue is at the center of it.
That's why she's out, is because, she declared that multiculturalism was a failure in her country several years back. Is that why she's basically being ousted?
What they've done is they had uncontrolled immigration, and they didn't have the infrastructure or the ability to provide for all of these people. There has been a huge increased wave of violent crime that has come with this immigration. Right. Multiple stories about rape and even more violent crime beyond that. And, you have situations that have been going on in France and in Belgium regarding the bombings. And all of that is producing a sense of fear across Europe. This exit by Britain is just the beginning. I predict right now there will be other countries that will be stepping back and asking themselves, gee, have we done the right thing? And you've got the northern countries who are subsidizing the southern countries. And if you look at England was subsidizing Europe by the tune of $25 billion a year. And in other words, they were giving away more than they were getting back out of the deal. Well, of course, everybody wanted them to stay in because somebody's going to have to pick that up. Somebody's got money that they got to put on the table for England leaving.
Ed Brown is our guest. He's the CEO of the Iowa Clinics. Tom Coates on the phone. Tom, do you have a question or a comment after Ed's comment?
Oh, yeah, Ed. I mean, Merkel said they needed the cheap labor. Does that sound familiar?
No.
They got, I think they opened the doors to like 750,000, mostly military-age men. You do that with somebody, we've in our country have prided ourselves on a land of immigrants, but the assimilation has been there. There was no pretense of assimilation over in these countries in Europe, and many of those countries, I understand, are close to being lost now because their reproduction rates are so low anyway, and then the Muslims come in and they breed like rabbits with multiple wives, and they want to, just like the ones here in this country, and I think there we start to draw the parallels. They want to live under Sharia law.
Tell it like it is, Tom.
And in this country, where in like areas like areas of Detroit and what have you, where they have rallied the numbers sufficiently, they do live under Sharia law. Not our Constitution, and they kick, and they kick the law enforcement out, and they run their own show. And under Obama, it's gotten to be such a point that we can't even try to gain intel through the mosque or anything else. We are blind and we are deaf as far as what's going on, and Obama's just letting them in across the border and everything else. Ed, what do you think? What are the consequences here?
I think there's dozens of parallels there, Tom. There's no doubt. France, for instance, is pretty much beholden to, or feels beholden to, the whole situation they put themselves into. One is the immigrants, but you also have to go back to prior World War II. They were a colonial state. Libya was part of one of the French colonies, and whenever Libya went independent, they allowed all of the citizens of Libya, if they wanted to become French, they could become French. But what has happened is all these Libyans that came over, they basically melted into French society, and their kids melted in. But their grandkids are not there. They are no different than the other folks that, came over from Syria. And you've got, just like you're saying, Dearborn, Michigan, for instance, is overwhelmed by Islamic law being practiced there. Is that you have that situation outside of Paris, and lots of enclaves of that.
All right, Ed Brown is our guest, CEO of the Iowa Clinics. We're going to talk healthcare. We're going to talk politics. Tom Coates is on the phone. He'll stick with us. Frank's here. I know you haven't heard much of him. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm yakking like a crow.
Bob's here. Chris is here. Jebediah is producing excellently, by the way. And you're here because you're the most important person in the room. I'm J. Michael McCoy. We're coming back live here on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza, and it's got Graziano sausage.
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
21 minutes after 4 o'clock, 4:21 on the 28th day of June. I wish it was December. Although we are getting a little cooler weather today. It was only supposed to be a high of 81 today, so that's nice. Hey, we talk about the folks over at Weiss Merkel Financial, and their free seminars that they put on. I've got tickets for you if you want to go. It's the Passport to Retirement. Have you asked yourself the questions that need to be asked? Which distribution methods could help preserve the value of your estate? What steps have you taken to provide for your family and heirs? Could your investment be earning more? It's free. Now, you need to call them or call me so I can get your name on the list. I'll give you the tickets. It's $49 for two people for this 3-hour event, and it's on Tuesday, July 19th at Upper Iowa University at 5000 Westtown Parkway. But I'm just going to keep telling you about this, and hopefully at some point you'll decide to go and see what they've got in store for you. So we appreciate the folks at Weiss Merkel Financial and believe in them. We believe in them. Okay, we believe in what they do.
Well, one of the things I was going to point out, a lot of times you hear, Bob, you can attest to this, when you hear about financial people having free seminars, if you're anything like me, the red flags go up immediately. That's a sales pitch. But this is not. This is about education. It's not normally free. It's free because 99.3 is going to send you their partnership with us. This normally costs money to attend, but we have a special relationship with Weiss Merkel Financial. But, Bob, you've been, and it's not a sales pitch, right?
No, not a sales pitch at all. If you want, them to help you, then you can. But it's just an education, which is what I went for. I wanted to learn about Social Security because I'm that age, and there are a lot of things that most people don't know. And Social Security, when you go to their office, they're not going to tell you anything. So you need to go there knowing what you're looking for and what you want to do and how you want to set it up.
Well, and they've pointed out before it's changing all the time.
All the time.
If you want to attend this, Mac, do they call the studios or do they call...
Either one. Either one. They can call Jebediah here at 244-0077, or they can call Weiss Merkel at 278-4110. So 278-4110. So either way, it doesn't matter. We'll get them in there. All right, Ed Brown is in studio. He's the CEO of the Iowa Clinics, and Tom Coates is on the phone because what's the truth, Tom? Are you sitting in your safe and you're counting your gold? And you just said, I can do this thing by phone. I don't need to drive all the way to Mac's studio. After all, it is Tom's world, after all, right?
Well, Mac, this is my once-a-year golf outing, the Norwalk Chamber Golf outing. I thought I could get off the course quick enough to drive up to Merle Hay, and I just couldn't. I just got off the course just by the time the show started, so I thought I'd better call in.
And Tom, Weiss Merkel says you should only have 5% of your portfolio in gold.
I can't. Frank is like this information sponge. Oh, all right. Have we completed the conversation about Britain pulling from the UK and the EU? The EU.
All I would say. Go ahead, Tom.
I don't know if we have. I mean, we've got impact across the globe, Mac, and I think that the markets are still roiling all over the world from it. I think that there's more to be heard from this, and I think the parallels for your listeners here in this country. We've had 7 years of Obama, who has, in essence, declared us a country with no borders. Right. We're supposed to be no longer a nation that clings to the U.S. Constitution and values, but we are supposed to open ourselves up to the world. And in his mind, and I saw a piece the other day, Ed, a mutual friend of ours, Mark Kirkland, sent me over a thing on Valerie Jarrett, who has been the number one advisor to Obama for 7 years. In her 77 yearbook out of Stanford, she pledged allegiance to the nation, to the Islam. She said that that's her top goal, and I think it has been this president's top goal to do everything he can to support Islam. We're a Christian nation, ostensibly, but we haven't been run like one, and we haven't been a nation with borders, which gives the rise to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is, in large part, evidence of the country's frustration with not being able to protect our sovereignty. What do you think?
Oh, I agree completely. I think most people greatly underestimated that frustration with what I would call the establishment population. You hear that used all the time. He didn't do anything correct in his campaign. Frankly, he said a whole lot of things incorrectly and continues to do so. But that pent-up frustration in there is not going to go away. And as you continue to see behavior like what our sitting president has demonstrated and all his minions that have this side agenda of trying to be, quote, politically correct, or frankly, I think many of the things that they have done have been borderline treasonous to, frankly, to our country and our Constitution. And we've stepped back and we've been patient, we've been tolerant, and we have let this go on, and we find all these tangential things that we want to blame it on, and we're going to demonize Trump in order to win this election. But I think there's going to be a continued, if we don't step up and right side our political machine here, we're going to find ourselves in a very deep, serious state here.
I thought I heard some talk show hosts the other day talking about that England put its working class put its foot down on the idea of this free-for-all society. Come in and get whatever you want. Is this going to play into Donald Trump's favor or against him, that the United States is basically clamoring for the same thing? We can only tolerate so much immigration. We can only absorb so much on our public welfare system. And is that message that happened in Britain going to resonate here? Because some people say it is, some people say it isn't.
20 years ago, I'd say we had a more educated voter, and I would have said that would have happened. Today, I question how educated our voting population citizenship is. People react emotionally and support, basically, if they're on the dole, they're going to support one side, and if they're not on the dole, they may be independent-minded and make judgment for themselves. Those people might pay attention to what happened over in Europe. And then there's going to be the more fiscal conservatives who are going to say, I've had enough. But I had enough 8 years ago before we ever got there.
Right.
So really what we got here is the entire election is going to rise and fall on this independent vote that and the unengaged. Frankly, I think that's what's amazing about Trump. There's people involved in the political process now that haven't been near it in the past.
Reports said there's like 50% of the American population receiving some kind of a public benefit.
Yeah. Where do you think those people are going to vote?
Well, Romney tagged him that they was going to vote for Obama, and he got in big trouble for it with the 47% comment.
Yeah, he did, and he was right.
Ed Brown is our special guest today. He's the CEO of the Iowa Clinics. Tom Coates on the phone, live from the Norwalk Country Club. What hole are you on, Tom?
Well, I'm off the hole. I'm in the parking lot now of the Legacy Golf Club in Norwalk. You're exactly right.
All right, so you now you're going to drive over to the studio and join us?
I don't think I got it, but if I left right now, I couldn't get there by the time your show was over.
That's all right. That's your punishment. We'll all be gone. All right, let's. I want to get into the Donald Trump situation here in just a minute, especially with the latest news of James Dobson, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Came out and said that Donald Trump accepted Jesus Christ, and that we need to give him time. That he's a baby Christian. And don't be judgmental, but he accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. What was that, last week at that evangelical thing?
Yeah, he said it a week ago, Tuesday, so just 1 week ago, he said that it happened recently. So Dr. James Dobson said that Trump had kind of a unique experience recently. And I said in the first hour, Ed, that so what? I mean, I'm happy for Donald Trump. I'm a Christian. I want Donald Trump to have a relationship with his creator. I'm happy for Donald Trump. But what about his policies? What about the way he sees the country? How is he going to lead the country? Because I've met a lot of really great pastors who have a really good relationship with God, know their Bible very well, and would be terrible presidents. So I don't know that that's necessarily the greatest criteria, but that was a big issue. What do you think, Ed? You're in the medical world. What do you think Donald Trump's position is on healthcare, really? Well, a lot of people have said, he's not very traditional conservative. What is he going to do about Obamacare as it is?
I don't think he will support Obamacare as it is today. I think from what I've heard from those around him, I think he actually has a little bit of mixed view. I think he feels like there needs to be safety nets. He feels that there needs to be catastrophic coverage available for folks. But I also believe he has a strong feeling that you should let the free enterprise system work too, in terms of those things that can fit within that and work within that. And there's a lot of healthcare that can.
Can we turn this ship around? I mean, have we gone too far down the Obamacare socialized medicine road? Can we turn this around to what it was 8 years ago?
We're not going to be able to turn it completely around. You have seen mass merger mania within healthcare with megaopoly types of systems out there, and those things are going to continue to persist. And the more they persist, the less competition is out there because you have shadow pricing, just like mega banks or mega anything, mega insurance. They compete a little bit, but they don't compete overly aggressively with one another. So that you can't go backwards on that. Now, as it relates to how we provide coverage, how we entice competition within the system by the user of healthcare, I think we can go and do some things with that to make it a little bit more of a consumerism type system.
Well, the low information voter like me just wants to know, will my insurance policy go down?
No.
Okay. Well, that was what I was afraid you would say.
When Obama said, hey, we want to instill competition and we're going to reduce rates, none of that has happened. The competition has not increased.
Did he lie? Did he know?
Has he lied before?
Yes.
Okay. I think
you're a smart guy. That was well done. Very well done. Sorry, continue.
I think when whether he had full knowledge about healthcare, which I doubt that he had a full understanding of the system, there were people within his cabinet and certainly within his staff that understood that what we had in terms of the Accountable Care Act or Affordable Care Act was it was going to be an insurance reform package. Now, just recently, and this is something I wanted to share with you guys, they have just passed in Congress over a year ago, but a thing called MACRA. And it's an acronym for a variety. I can't even get all the words out.
You hold on to that for just a second. We're up against a hard break. Ed Brown in the studio along with Tom Coates, and this is Mac's World live here on The Truth 99.3 FM. Thanks for listening.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs,
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Okay, 4:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. J. Michael McCoy here with Max World Live on 99.3 The Truth. If you have just found this radio station, we thank you for scanning the dial. This is a talk radio station that talks a lot about Jesus. I remember filling in for somebody on another radio station here in town once, and I said to the program director, I said, anything you don't want me to say? And he said, no. He said, you're a pro. You've been around. You know what to do. And when we got done with the show, he said, you said Jesus 11 times. I said, yeah, so what? Well, we can't say Jesus on a quote-unquote, what would you call it, a secular radio station or something like that?
Yeah, you don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, so from early in the morning until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we've got different local area pastors. We've got national pastors. And understand, this is the thing. This is Chris's job. He's the station manager and the program director. You can't just line up and be the next preacher or teacher to get a show on this station. You have to be approved. Your theology has to be approved. I know you're wondering how I got this job.
You're not the only one wondering that.
And then at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Dr. Brown, Michael Brown, and he goes for a couple hours, and I go for a couple of hours, and then we have a couple other preacher shows, and then Steve Deace is 8 to 11. So we are here. We are celebrating our 53rd week, I think, what it is.
Ed had the best response. Ed, I could tell in his face, this sounds like a great radio station. And then you put Steve Deace on it. What happened?
I almost said Jesus.
That's right. You know, Ed, you're not the only person who's made that face at me. And more and more recently, I think he's been causing me more stress. I know he loves me, and he probably doesn't listen anymore. He just, so. But no, Steve Deace is Tom Coates' favorite guy. I know it, right, Tom?
Well, I'm sorry I missed the time that Steve was on the show recently, but the same comments that I would ask David Johnson when he was on there 2 weeks ago, I would ask Steve Deace. And what you said, Chris, well, maybe Trump is a baby Christian, but what's the alternative, guys?
Right.
I mean, the alternative is an absolute disaster with Hillary Clinton from the Supreme Court, which will be ruling us from the bench. We saw that as in evidence the other day, a 5-3 against the state wanting to increase the chances for a woman getting good health care down in Texas. We're going to be legislating from the bench. We get Hillary Clinton. We don't have to go past that issue.
Right.
And then you can look at the safety of Americans from Muslim immigration and everything else. Donald Trump may not be the perfect one, but by golly, he sure beats the alternative. That's what I've got to say.
And Tom, I agree with you, but I tell you, I want him to go to sleep at night listening to tapes of Ronald Reagan. And, there he can bring some class to his oratory skills. And while he can be firm and he can be direct, and there is a way to turn around and deliver a message that can resonate to a much broader audience without having to alienate and undermine people to get there.
I agree, Ed. We need to pivot off of the primary stuff that he was doing to a more general populace, and I agree. I hope he does.
Hey, Tom, I have a question for you and Ed. Originally, the Affordable Care Act, when people referenced it as Obamacare, it was called racist to do that. Now I find Hillary in a lot of her speeches calling it Obamacare. Why would you speculate the about face on that?
His legacy. In fact, he himself embraced that term. Mm-hmm. He wants a legacy, whether it's normalizing relationships with Iran, which is a disaster, Cuba, or Obamacare. He wants to be known as the president that fundamentally changed America. And we didn't fully understand what he meant when he said that in the election, but now we're getting a pretty good idea. He wants that part of his legacy.
I agree completely, Tom.
Do you think it's also possible that if she does somehow lightning strikes and we get her as president and the employer mandates hit in 2017 and as many as 100 million people end up going on the public system because the employers would rather take the penalty than insure their employees, do you think that if it goes down in flames, this is her way of preemptively hanging it around his neck?
Ed?
No, I don't think so at all. I think what they'll do is they'll keep the legacy of the name and they will modify it. The Democrats won't let the core of the bill go away unless you have to have a Republican president, Republican Senate, and a Republican House, and then they'll try to send it up in flames. But otherwise, it'll be an incremental modification in order to they have to make modifications anyway to accommodate the needs of the unions in terms of the luxury tax. And there will be other things that will be thrown in there to try to accommodate that area.
Ed Brown is my guest today, CEO of the Iowa Clinics. We're talking a little bit about health care. Are we ever going to have... Ed, what would have to happen for us to go back to the health care system that we had that seemed to serve... I mean, didn't it serve everybody okay, or am I wrong on that?
It did. In my opinion, we had the best healthcare delivery system in the world. We didn't do a good job proving it, and we weren't being efficient with our dollars. This whole reform effort was all about the expense per beneficiary and the expense on the American people in the delivery of a promise. and we let it run amok. And I'll be the first one to admit it, that we weren't responsible in how we spent our healthcare dollars. We let things go silly. We didn't turn around and oversee it well. And now what you have is a country that's so deep in debt, it can't afford to live up to the promise that it made to that population. And when it's all said and done, everybody who is a service worker in the general accounting office knows we got to quit paying so much for health care or the whole darn ship is going to go down. So they're going to do whatever they have to do to cut what they pay to cover the beneficiaries. So it's going to be a series of things that happen.
Well, and Ed, you said right before we went to break that kind of sounds like this is what this MACRA, is that what you called it? That's what this is. Tell us what MACRA is.
Basically MACRA is the beginning of a shift of the responsibility that America has to provide insurance benefits or coverage benefits to the over 65 population, the retirees, and shifting the liability of that coverage onto the back of the delivery system or providers. It will get phased in over time if nothing's changed in it. The problem with it, and while that may sound like a reasonable thing in some ways to do, is the delivery system wasn't set up to be an insurance company. The delivery system was not set up to take on that level of liability. Now, I'll use the Iowa Clinic. We may be able to afford some risk of responsibility that if it costs more than what we thought it was going to cost, we might have to forgive that. We don't mind doing a little bit. But when that risk has an unlimited number associated with it, that'll drive us out of business. And we can't afford that. So there's a lot of discussion going on about this issue because there wasn't a lot of information about it. It occurred sort of under the table.
Can you remind me what you kind of said before? What is the acronym, Bob? Do you have that what MACRA was? You said it was Medicare.
Yeah, the Medicare Access and CHIP Reauthorization Act, and CHIP is sort of a children's health care program.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Now, nothing in there in that acronym says anything about payment. And how they dealt with that is they empowered the Health and Human Services Secretary and the head of CMS to address it.
Okay, the music is playing. We're coming back after a 2-minute break, and we'll be back, and we're going to talk a little bit, finish up with healthcare, and then I want to talk a little bit about politics. We're coming back. Tom is on the phone. Ed's in studio, and you're here. Thank you.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common, everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right, 10 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Hank, the Bible Answer Man, 1-888-ASK-HANK. Service Legends Truth Text Talk Line is at 515-809-0993. Your voice can be heard at 515-244-0077. Tom Coates on the phone, Ed Brown in studio. Remember, we're a week away, little more than a week away from the Family Leadership Summit. It's coming up on Saturday, July 9th here in Des Moines. The event will feature Ann Graham Lotz, War Room actor T.C. Stallings, biblical worldview expert Dr. Del Tackett, and more. To get your tickets, just get online, thefamilyleader.com. All right. What do you make of this whole Trump thing?
Oh, I think basically it's a statement of anger. It's a statement of anger, not having lost confidence in the establishment and the people who have not been active in politics before, saying, look, I trust this guy just as much as I trust any of them. I'll give him a shot. And now that's not going to come from the Democratic Party, but certainly the independents and the Republicans, we have a long ways to go for him to be in the White House. But don't underestimate this guy. That has been the error that everyone has made.
Yeah, that's true.
Well said.
Yeah, well said. Is his vice presidential pick a key choice that American unpledged voters,
unpledged delegates?
No. I meant guys like me who just don't know who I'm going to vote for yet.
I very slightly, because his personality is so overwhelmingly powerful that he's going to command the stage no matter who he chooses as vice president. The only way that a vice president becomes relevant, I think, because of his persona, is if he picks somebody who puts their foot in their mouth terribly, and then it becomes a huge negative.
Ed Brown is our guest, CEO of the Iowa Clinics. Who would be a vice presidential pick that would make you go, okay, all right, that's a good move. That's a good move.
Someone who would never take it, in no way, because they're too much connected to the establishment, but I think a whole lot of, and have met her and talked to her personally, and that's Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah, I doubt if she'd do it either.
I agree.
I doubt if she'd do it either.
Ed, let me ask you a quick question. Is it more important for him to solidify the Republican base of the VP pick, or is it more important to reach out to the independent voters that may swing his way?
I think when it comes to the independent voters, he has to do that himself. I think he gets more benefit acknowledging the Republican base.
Say that to me again, Ed.
I think Trump's choice for vice president has to have enough connection to the Republican base that they will pause for a minute and say, look, this guy was a responsible father and how he raised 3 kids. This guy can pick a vice presidential candidate that if something happened to him, I could trust. Maybe he's not such a blowhard fool after all.
Now, when you say Republican base, is that code word for establishment?
It's got to be somebody that's had enough of an independent voice that they don't fall quite into that category. And there's people out there.
What about Cruz?
I struggled a little bit with Cruz. I liked him until the fight started getting rough, and I think he compromised himself just as much as Trump did. So.
I keep hearing the name Gingrich keep popping up. He's got a lot of baggage.
Ed, you supported Newt Gingrich.
I did support Newt Gingrich.
Would you think he'd be a good candidate?
I tell you, he is one smart son of a gun. I think he's awful old to be taking that spot at this point. Would he take it? Absolutely he would.
Yeah, but I'm going to say something here that I shouldn't say, but he's too old, isn't he?
Yeah, that's why
He's older than Trump, is he?
Huh?
He isn't any older than Trump, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Gingrich has got to be in his early 70s, doesn't he?
Oh, I would say a little older than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Tom, I'm going to let you go and let you get back to the links. By the way, what'd you shoot? Did you play 9 or 18?
18, and my foursome shot 10 under, which I was a load. In fact, we had one really good guy. I called him the elephant, and the rest of us were more like 3 donkeys.
So, was it a best ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4-man best ball.
Oh, you didn't do 10 under. What a weenie. That's like going to the miniature golf and counting that as a real golf score.
We missed you here, Tom. And you get to make a plug. What was this for again?
This was our annual Norwalk Chamber golf outing. It was at the Legacy Golf Course, and it was a slow round. I thought I could get off in time to come over. I'm sorry I didn't make it, guys.
Well, phone works fine, and we appreciate you being there on the phone and having Mr. Brown in as our guest. All right, Tommy, I'm going to let you run. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. So now that Tom's off the phone and he doesn't have a radio, let's talk about him.
By the way, Mac, Newt Gingrich is 73 years old, Donald Trump is 70 years old, and Hillary Clinton is 68.
I thought he was 75.
I gotta be careful. Donald Trump is 70 years old. That surprises me.
Well, they're all younger than Reagan.
That's right. They're all younger. Reagan was what, 75?
Yeah.
When he was elected, something like that?
I think second time.
Second time? Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, Ed, I appreciate you being here today, and we covered healthcare and politics and Europe, and it's always a pleasure to have you here.
I always enjoy being here, Mac. You got a great program. I appreciate the invite.
Well, thank you for being a part of our crew when we need somebody to come on and talk some sense into Tom. All right, tomorrow, and one of the reasons I don't promo shows in advance is because schedules change.
Yep.
But tomorrow, Del Tackett, who's I said his name wrong, didn't I? Del Tackett is going to be on the phone with us, and of course he's going to be here for the Leadership Summit a weekend from now. So he should be on the radio with us about 3:30. And Del is he's one of my favorites. If you've ever done the Truth Project, he's the professor. He's the guy that leads that, and he's writing an update to the Truth Project that should be out sometime. We'll talk to him about that tomorrow. Though, hopefully he'll be on. And we appreciate everything that the family leader does for us in helping to get him on the radio. And it's a good partnership between us and the family leader. And I have to say something about that. They're really good people there. And I didn't know them 7, 8, 9 years ago. And I wouldn't have said that. And now that I'm informed and intelligent, I apologize. Nobody's asked me to apologize, but I do kind of feel bad because I saw them through a different set of lenses, and they're an amazing organization, and we should help them. They're not just politics. They're about Jesus. Okay, you know what I'm going to ask? Find the person you hold a resentment against tonight. Give it to them. Get it over. Forgive them, because God's watching. And as you forgive, He will forgive you. See you tomorrow.